Have you ever been so overwhelmed that you can't even find the words to pray? You don't know where to turn? Well, there's an ancient prayer written for that exact moment. It's Psalm 102. Today, we're going to dive into this incredibly raw and powerful passage and see what it can teach us about finding real hope, especially in the darkest of times. This devotional is brought to you by the You Need Faith in Jesus team.
Right from the get-go, the title itself gives us permission to be completely and totally honest. You know, the original Hebrew word for overwhelmed here, it kind of suggests being wrapped up or shrouded in darkness. So this isn't a prayer for just a bad day or some minor frustration. No, this is a lifeline for when you feel like you're completely drowning. It validates our deepest feelings and basically invites us to just pour out everything, all our raw, unfiltered complaints right before God.
All right, so the psalm kicks off with this incredibly raw, unfiltered cry for help. The writer doesn't waste any time with polite introductions. He just dives straight into the heart of his crisis, literally begging God to listen. I mean, you can just feel the urgency here, can't you? Phrases like, "Incline thine ear and answer me speedily." This shows a desperate need for a personal God, one who will actually lean in and listen. That fear of God hiding his face is so real, and the need for a quick response is just undeniable. What this does for us, though, is it gives us permission to be that direct, to be that urgent in our own prayers. Okay, so after crying out to God, the psalmist then does something really interesting. He he dissects his own despair. He uses this series of incredibly powerful images to paint a vivid, gut-wrenching picture of what he's going through. Wow! He feels his life is just evaporating like smoke. With no substance, just vanishing. And this isn't just a surface-level pain. That phrase, "my bones are burned," that points to a deep, internal agony. It's like a constant fever that's consuming him from the inside out. The pain he's feeling is so profound that it's actually taking a physical toll. His heart, the very core of who he is, feels crushed and lifeless, just like grass that's been scorched by the sun. And this emotional devastation is so bad that he's lost his appetite. I mean, he's even forgetting to do something as basic as eat. That's how all-consuming this is. And then there's the loneliness. He uses 3 different images here, and each one just builds on the last. A pelican in the wilderness, that's a creature totally out of its natural element. An owl in the desert, a solitary figure in a vast, empty landscape. And then a single sparrow on a housetop. It's the very definition of isolation. He feels like a complete outcast, totally and utterly alone. This one is just intense. Grief has become his daily meal. See, in ancient times, sitting in ashes was a sign of deep, deep mourning. But to say that he has eaten them, that means his sorrow has become his very substance. It's like his food is seasoned with grief and his water is diluted with his own tears. He wraps up this whole description of despair with this powerful image. A shadow in the late afternoon, the kind that gets longer and longer right before he gets completely swallowed up by the night. He feels like his life is just fading away. And it's right here, at this absolute lowest point, that we get the most critical turning point in the entire psalm. So after 11 verses of just raw, unfiltered despair, the psalmist makes a dramatic pivot. He lifts his eyes up from his own fragile, fleeting life, and he fixes his gaze on the one thing that is permanent, the one thing that is unchanging, the eternal nature of God. That word, but, that one little word changes absolutely everything. It's like he's saying, "My days are a fading shadow, but you, O Lord, you endure forever." Right when his world is crumbling, he latches onto the one thing that is completely unshakable, the character of God. This right here, this is the anchor in his storm. I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's so stark. On one hand, you have our human experience. Our days are like a shadow. We wither. Our strength gets weakened. Our days are cut short. But on the other hand, you have God's reality. He endures forever. He is always the same. His years never, ever end. The big insight here is that our temporary struggles have to be seen against the backdrop of his eternal, unchanging nature. And here's the real comfort in all of this. Verse 17 promises that this huge, glorious, eternal God will regard the prayer of the destitute. Think about that for a second. The very same God who exists outside of time is the God who leans in to hear the cries of the lonely, the poor, and the powerless. Nobody is too insignificant for his attention. So this is all powerful stuff, but how do we actually apply it? How do we walk that same path from despair to hope that the psalmist did?
Well, this final section is all about that. It's a practical guide to finding our own anchor when the storm hits. The psalmist's journey basically gives us a 4-step roadmap. First, we pour out our hearts with that same raw honesty, no holding back. Second, we make that crucial pivot. We shift our focus away from our problems and onto God's character. Third, we actually declare out loud who He is, that He is eternal and unchanging. And finally, number 4, we rest. We find our rest in the security of His eternal promises.
You know, an anchor is what holds a ship steady in a raging sea. And in the very same way, God's eternal nature is the anchor for our souls. When everything around us feels like it's shifting, like it's fading, He is the one unmovable, solid point of security that we can cling to.
And the psalm ends on this incredible note of hope. The psalmist might feel like his own life is being cut short, but he finds comfort in a much larger truth. Because God is eternal, His people have a future. Our ultimate security isn't found in how long we live, but in being part of God's eternal family, a story that's going to continue long, long after we're gone.
So the psalm leaves us with a question, and it's a question that really echoes through time. When your own strength fails and the shadows in your life start to grow long, where will you find your anchor? We really hope this devotional explainer on Psalm 102 from the You Need Faith in Jesus team has given you some food for thought.